Hello and welcome to Recently in Counter-Strike, or RIX for short, the Counter-Strike news show where we cover all topics surrounding the professional Counter-Strike 2 scene. Without a doubt, the absolute wildest news we've got this week is definitely Mouse benching siuhy ahead of Katowice in shock move. You see the headline, nobody saw this coming. You know, when you go on Twitter or you go on Reddit or you go on HOTV and you see a funny leak from Harumi or Nell or Overdrive, ain't nobody talking about this one. This one came right out of left field and is crazy because Mouse was seemingly the only team, or one of the very few teams, to survive WrestleMania. You know, as far as everybody was concerned, they were keeping this five-man core. There was a rumor that supposedly Jimmy was supposed to be moving over to Falcons, but that obviously didn't happen because he fucking didn't, did he? But this one is just crazy. And what's more crazy is that they are the new IGL of this team is Brolan. Brolan has been in a little questionable form for quite a while now, and he was sort of finding his footing. And now he has to IGL this team. He's never IGL before, but who knows? Maybe he can get it done. So the thing to think about now is that this sort of sidelines Mouse for Katowice. They have to play with a stand-in. It's Zelex from the academy team. Nothing much to say about him. And we're just going to have to sort of see what happens. The reason they said is the PR way they've put this as is differing visions for the team's direction. So who knows what that really means? We don't know what it means until somebody comes out and explains the reason the contracts expire. Then we won't really know. But the fact that siuhy is an in-game leader and he is now on the bench, you know, there's gonna be some hype around this. I personally think that he's gonna end up on Falcons because let's be honest, that sort of core of Magisk, Zonic, and Nico, they run the show over at Falcons. They whatever they say is going to happen, and as soon as Kixan does anything that displeases any of them, his ass is gone. No questions asked. And you have an experienced tier 1 IGL who is proven to be able to do the job well. He's got trophies behind him, and I think it's sort of a no-brainer. So if I was Kixan, I'd be shitting bricks right now, because siuhy's back on the market, and your job is probably gone. So the replacement for siuhy ended up being Spinks, who just left Vitality. Supposedly, you know, once again, it was sort of differing visions, is the official statement, but I think there was some rumours swirling that he and Flames had some sort of permanent disagreement, however you want to put it. Regardless, Spinks is here to stay on Mouse. After seemingly having to sit out the first season, he has managed to find a new home. Great for him. Spinks, very talented player, but possibly also a PR nightmare. So, Spinks joins Mouse, and Brolin is going to be the new IGL. How does this team shape up? There's quite a lot to be said. There's finer minds to say it than me. So we'll just have to sort of see. But we won't actually get to see these guys until after Katowice because they have been roster locked, as previously mentioned. But just this team on paper, it seems like they could do some damage. But I just sort of wonder how Brolin is going to fit into this. I don't feel like he's a player who has too much confidence, and he just sort of found, you know, a new lease of confidence, and now everything's gone wrong. He has to in-game lead now, and I feel like it's a sort of bit of a waste for him. I don't know who, if anybody on this team could IGL, if not him. I sort of think maybe Spinks wasn't the man for the job, maybe siuhy was, but time will tell. We'll have to see what happens. As a little side note to the whole siuhy being benched thing, somebody found a clip that was siuhy streaming, and he was talking with some of his friends, and the general conversation was supposedly about the environment within the Mouse team, and siuhy sort of saying that it isn't very ideal. So as you can see, siuhy's friend says teammates are ghosting you. siuhy says yes. They're not responding about anything else other than team practice. You know how it looked in my team. There is one guy who has muted phone, I mean notifications, like fully. One has muted notifications from anyone except his girlfriend. So his friend says, "Ya pierdole," supposedly. siuhy says one rarely uses his phone. It is how it is. And siuhy's friend sort of seems a little bit disbelief. He says, so they're just sort of messing around with you. And Shui's friend sort of says, you're just sort of messing around, surely one of these people is you. And Shui says, no, it's not me. So this post really blew up because the general idea from the outside, it sort of mounted like they were a really happy family team. You see in like the ESL roundtable videos, they all sort of seem to get on. And this really caught everybody by surprise. And a lot of the community was sort of weighing in saying, they've sold us this fake dream. These guys don't really like each other. And as you can see from this sort of post, it seems like they really are just colleagues. They don't talk to each other outside of practice and scrims and officials, which is their job. But supposedly, all is not to be believed as gospel. Shui took to Twitter to clarify, and he says, I would like to clarify the situation regarding a clip that was taken out of context and has been circulating on social media since yesterday. The clip was cut in such a way and at a time to manipulate the audience into thinking that it refers to my departure from Mouse. I want to make it clear this is completely untrue. In addition, the clip is from a stream from 9 days ago and refers to a completely different topic, my unbanning on Faceit while playing matchmaking with friends. I don't see anything wrong with someone not using their phone in their free time, especially since my former teammates and I used to spend practically every day together. We had a really good atmosphere of the team, we enjoyed talking to each other on and off the server about anything in life. At the end of the day, they are like a second family to me. There was never a situation where I felt ignored or left out in our environment. I am, and I will be on good terms with my friends. The surfacing clip is completely out of context and is not relevant to me being moved to the inactive roster. It was all said in an exaggerated, joking manner. So the conspiracy theory sort of started to whirl again. Is Shui just saying this, as in Mouse sort of said, hey, this is damaging our brand. Please, could you say something positive about this situation, as a lot of people are sort of ragging on us right now? Or is this truly the truth? I haven't looked into it too much. I see no reason why Shui would lie about this. He seems like a genuine guy. And I feel like it would be quite hard for Mouse to sort of always keep up the appearance that they really get on if they really don't. A lot of the ESL videos, they're filmed in one day on media day, and people like Jimmy, I sort of feel like if he really didn't care, he wouldn't even try and pretend he did. He just sort of strikes me as that kind of guy. So if he genuinely seems to be, having fun with his teammates, he probably is. So I'm not sure what will possess somebody to sort of take this weird clip out of context and just create this fake drama out of nothing, but that's the Shui and the Mouse situation. At long last, we have another update of real substance coming from Valve, and that is, of course, the beginning of Season 2 for Premiere. So we've had Premiere Season 1 since Source 2 dropped, which was well over a year ago now, and Valve never really said when Season 1 was going to end, so it sort of just became a bit of a running joke. It's obviously never going to end, just like the Team Fortress 2 dueling season, which has been going on for about 15 years now. Regardless, Valve have said that Season 2 is in fact coming. And all those who have a rank, they're going to get a medal for it, and you'll be able to earn a different coloured medal based on how high you climbed in the rankings. That's all well and good. Sounds great. You'll be able to review your statistics and such by taking a look at the coin. So they're sort of just having an alternative to the CS stats that they used to have back in Global Offensive, which you could pay, I think it was like $1 for, or 70p, something like that. Which, other websites already did for free and have been doing for a very long time. I don't know if they're doing this to try and sort of rival Leetify or something like that. There's no real reason to do that sort of thing. But anyway, they're putting this in. This is quite an odd post from Valve because they've also just randomly dropped in changes to the FAMAS and the M4s, and also some news about Train and Vertigo. Obviously, we saw that Train is in, Vertigo is out of the active duty pool. The pros are already playing Train. And the M4, so the price of the M4 is being changed. And I believe they're making the M4A4 $2,900, which is the current price of the A1S. So that's quite a big change. I believe the A4 was 3.1k before, so it's taken a pretty big price dip. And I imagine a lot of people were probably using the A1S simply because it was a lot cheaper. It was easy to get a full buy on a CT side, which is, notoriously hard to get a buy on now, ever since Source 2 pretty much came out. The FAMAS has also had some changes to its standing and crouching accuracy, along with the price cut, which is very much needed. I actually saw quite a funny post on Twitter where Austin asked how much the FAMAS was going to be changed to, and Valve said it was $300. Anyway, So Season 2 is going to be ending after the Austin Major, which I believe is in July, something like that. And once again, you're going to get a medal, which will have a different colour depending on how high your rank is going to be. I can't wait to get my light grey medal. There was an interesting post on Reddit made a couple of days ago, and it's about Spirit using the Steam overlay and the Steam notes function to have their strats, essentially. Rather than having it on paper, they're having it in here, so they can shift tab and just have a look at it. Even mid-round, possibly, I suppose, if you were really ballsy, you could just whip up the shift tab in the middle of the round to take a look. And somebody pointed out in the comment section that you can apparently paste images into the Steam notes, meaning theoretically, you could have things like lineups, smoke lineups, pictures of that, and other visual cues in your match. So it's very interesting, this idea, because I wonder if Valve are going to sort of step in and say, you guys can't do that. Because teams have been bringing paper into matches for a good few years now, ever since the really high level Counter-Strike started being cracked open, and Valve never had any issues with teams having paper, that sort of thing. They've never handed out any sort of judgment on this, but no teams have ever actually had pictures, and I suppose having an in-game way to do it on the fly might be a little bit different. So I wonder if Valve are going to step in and say, hey, you guys can't do this, this is literally cheating. I guess we'll just have to see what happens on this one. I think it's really quite surprising. It's one of those things you think about it, and you sort of think, how come nobody has ever thought about this before? It's really, really clever. So I'd love to know who the mastermind behind this was. Obviously, we can see this is Team Spirit using this one here. So I wonder if it was something to do with Halley or Chopper. But either way, it's just a really cool, interesting image that I found. Krad from 9 Pandas was banned by ESL this week after he was caught using a deagle with a very questionable craft in an ESL Challenger League match versus Monty. ESL ended up banning Krad for 20 days, and he took to Twitter after the ban was handed down to say, hey guys, saw the post about the deagle. I want to tell you that I bought it less than a week ago and didn't notice the very word since I play with my left hand and it's mirrored. Have a good and productive day. Which is quite a humorous jab at the people who he sees are wasting their time reporting him for things like this. So, Krad is banned for 20 days, and his post, it sort of makes sense. He doesn't speak English very well. He might not be able to read the word as well because it's not in simple letters. It's mirrored. He only had it for less than a week. It makes sense. He might not have even bought it himself. He might have been gifted it or given it by one of his gambling sponsors. It just sort of makes sense. But people did not agree. And one Twitter user in particular, they wanted to seek out the truth. So they trawled through Krad's streams from the past week, and it turns out he sort of bought the deagle because of what it had on it. And he joked about it, essentially. And after this post blew up on Twitter and Reddit, ESL reviewed the ban they handed down to Krad, and they actually extended it to a month. Krad took to Telegram afterwards, not Twitter, so there's only about 20 people in his Telegram, keep in mind, and he simply says, the ban has been reviewed, now it's a month from ESL. Guys, don't repeat my mistakes, the price is high, so learn from other people's situations. Not even an apology, just an explanation of what's happened. Our final piece of news today is as of recording this very clip, it is the 26th of January 2025, which means on this day, 10 years ago, the infamous iBuyPower, well, not to this day exactly, but on this day, 10 years ago, the following players listed on my screen right now were permanently banned by Valve from attending Valve-sponsored events. That was Kud, Deborn, Casey Foster, Dazed, Swag, AZK, and Steel. Obviously banned due to the infamous iBuyPower match-fixing scandal of 2015. So in 2023, Steel, who is the only player on this list who really is still in the scene in any sort of capacity, basically said, Valve have told me that my Valve ban will expire in 10 years from 2015. And that is the day. Today is the day. These guys are now all unbanned. Should any of them want to return and play or have any sort of participation in Valve-sponsored events, they can, And obviously the only person really of note on this list here is Steel. Apart from a short stint in Valorant, he's remained loyal to the scene, and he said he wants to do more work as talent. He's still playing. Very recently was part of a team called Undone, featuring Skadoodle. That team's sort of broken apart now because a few of their players got picked up. But he's still very much here, and he's made it quite clear that he wants to be a part of the scene still. And I think, these guys, they should have been unbanned a very long time ago. It's really, really sad that players like Swag, most notably, this guy was up and coming. He was a real talent from the North American scene. His career was cut short by some very poor decisions and some very harsh punishments. So obviously, only Steele's going to be he's going to be the only one that's going to be really hanging around. But I think it would be great to see him at some events. He's not going to win the major, let's be honest. But it would be great to have him on the desk. He's got a great mind for the game, and he's still got it. So welcome back, Steele, I guess. Blast Bounty 2025 Season 1 finals. They're all done. The year has started much how it ended, with Spirit on top. They lifted the trophy quite comfortably in a 3-1 fashion versus Eternal Fire. Have a quick little look at the ratings down here. As you can see, it was actually the Shiro show for once. He had a mega performance, dude. He was fucking them up. He had some crazy clutches on Anubis, which they lost regardless, funnily enough. But yeah, he did great. In my opinion, he should have got the MVP for this tournament. Donk, he had a great performance, obviously in the finals, but he just, compared to Shiro, it was he was very far removed compared to how good Shiro was. To be honest, the first playoff Shiro's not choked in a very long time, and unfortunately there was no crowd there to witness it. Regardless, I think Shiro should have probably taken the MVP. I think he was like 0.3 rating out of Donk, but for that performance in the finals alone, I think it should have cleared him for it, to be honest with you. Eternal Fire, it looked really impressive, especially considering on Anubis, they had to mount a huge comeback, dude. It was like 12-4 or something. And Eternal finally grinded like 8 rounds in a row, forced overtime, and then won in single overtime. And then after that, as you can see by the rest of the maps, it just really fell apart. They couldn't get anything going at all. A real shame, to be honest, because they looked really strong, and I thought for a second, hang on, there actually might be a pretty juicy final, but wasn't meant to be, unfortunately. A little bit slow, not much to really say about it other than Spirit. They stay on top once again. Chopper, just to note, he fragged hard, dude. He was fragging really, really well. And considering the fact that Halley wasn't behind him, he was working double overtime pretty much. But he fragged really good. Magic's and Zontics, the sort of performance you'd expect from these guys. Magic, surprisingly enough, did not carry on his insane major finals performance, to the surprise of absolutely nobody, I'm sure, unless you're a real moron. Yeah, so that was Blast Bounty Season 1.